Only one game on the NHL schedule tonight as we get set for the Frozen Frenzy tomorrow. If you don't know what that is, basically all 32 NHL teams will be in action and no two games start at the same time. We have staggered start times for every single game. Should be a lot of fun, but before we get to the Frozen Frenzy tomorrow, let's talk about the Montreal Canadiens versus the Buffalo Sabres tonight. But before we talk about the game itself, there is one thing that I wanted to talk about and give my thoughts on. There's been a handful of NHL teams so far this season struggling with attendance issues. Winnipeg Jets are one of those teams, and so are the Buffalo Sabres. And man, did it ever stick out like a sore thumb in tonight's game against the Montreal Canadiens. This game was in Buffalo, and there was a ton of empty seats, and the seats that were occupied, it felt like for the most part, those seats were occupied by Montreal Canadiens fans. There was a lot of Habs jerseys in the crowd tonight. Sabres fans, where are you guys at? You got a young, fun, upcoming team with playoff aspirations. The Sabres currently have the longest active playoff drought in the NHL at 12 years. This is a team that you'd think the fans would really be rallying behind. And with the way the Buffalo Sabres have been playing to start this season, they look like they could use a full building full of energy to really feed off of, and they're just not getting that from their home crowd so far. Now, I won't just sit here and put all that on the Buffalo Sabres fans, as a lot of people have been telling me that the ticket prices are just way too high. And if that's the case, well then Sabres ownership should probably look at decreasing the prices, but whatever way you want to look at this, it's not a good look for the Buffalo Sabres. That aside, let's now talk about the game itself, and man, the Buffalo Sabres continue to struggle early on this season as they lose to the Montreal Canadiens by a final score of 3-1. They now fall to 2-4 on the season, and the Montreal Canadiens improve to a record of 3-1-1. Things were all Montreal in this one out of the gate as Justin Barron would open up scoring in this one a little under 3 minutes into the first period. Arbor Jackeye would let one rip from the blue line. That hit his shin pad, and it was a fortunate bounce for the Canadiens here. It bounced directly to Justin Barron in the perfect spot. Eric Comrie was way out of position, and Barron basically just had to fire this one into an empty net. So some rare offense from the blue line to start things off in this game for the Montreal Canadiens, as Justin Barron becomes the first defenseman this season to score for the Habs. Like I mentioned, things were all Montreal early on in this one, as the Buffalo Sabres didn't get their first shot on goal till there was about 13 minutes left in the first period. They got that shot on goal on a delayed penalty call, and then on the ensuing power play, Jeff Skinner would score, assisted by Dylan Cousins and Rasmus Dahlin. This was an absolute snipe by Jeff Skinner. Short side, Jeff Skinner was right around the goal line when he let this one rip, and it was just a beautiful shot. Ideally, you probably want Jake Allen to stop that, or for there not to be as much room to shoot at from that angle, but Jake Allen probably wasn't expecting Jeff Skinner to let it go from there, and it was just a great shot. Unfortunately for the Sabres, though, this was all the offense they were able to muster up in this game. They came into this game as the 25th ranked team in terms of goals for per game, and that's only going to get worse with this one goal performance tonight against the Canadiens. Let's now jump all the way to the third period, as there was really nothing going on in the second. Jake Allen did make some big saves on Dylan Cousins, but other than that, it was a quiet period. And early on in the third, none other than Brendan Gallagher would give the Montreal Canadiens a 2-1 lead. He scored about 3.5 minutes into the third, and it was probably the most Brendan Gallagher goal you will ever see. Such a greasy one, but they don't ask how. These are exactly the kind of goals you want to see from Brendan Gallagher, and he's now got goals in 2 straight. They showed a stat on the screen after he scored. I can't remember the exact record, but Montreal has a very good record when Brendan Gallagher scores, dating back to like 2021. So Gallagher gives the Canadiens the 2-1 lead in the third period, and the Canadiens try to hold on to this, but Sean Monahan gets a tripping penalty with a little under 10 minutes to go in the third period. It was a penalty behind the Buffalo Sabres net, so an offensive zone penalty. Not a penalty you want to take at any point in the game, but it looked especially bad considering the fact that the Canadiens were trying to cling on to a 1-goal lead in the third period, and it was also the second penalty in the offensive zone the Canadiens took like this in the game, so that's something Marty St. Louis can't be happy about. Now, I want to highlight a play on this penalty kill because it was an unreal, gutsy performance by David Savard. It started out by David Savard blocking a Tage Thompson one-timer, and it broke his stick, and you could tell it was a shot that shook him up a little bit. The Sabres would then work it around some more, give it back to Tage Thompson for another one-timer, and Savard would then block that shot and lose a skate blade. If you're somebody who's ever played hockey and you've lost a skate blade, you would know it's basically impossible to stand up with just one skate blade. So he was just out there kind of on one knee, could barely stand up. When he did get up, he couldn't move, but he was still out there killing the penalty, trying to block shots. Fantastic penalty killing shift from David Savard. Those are the kind of plays, those are the kind of shifts that really get a bench going, and you could tell Montreal really fed off of that. The Habs would add some insurance with a power play goal by Tanner Pearson late in the third period, and this one would end a final score of 3-1. Buffalo did pull the goalie, but nothing happened either way. Great win for the Montreal Canadiens, a real pesky performance. They were opportunistic in this one. Jake Allen played really well. He held them in this game at points, made some huge saves. And for the Buffalo Sabres, like I said, they continue to struggle early on this season, and things are only going to get tougher from here on out. They have a ton of road games coming up over this next month and a half, but maybe that's just what the doctor ordered for the Buffalo Sabres. Sometimes, you know, long road trips and being on the road a lot can really bring a team together, so hopefully they can get going at some point. If you guys enjoyed today's recap, please be sure to leave the video a like. That is the best way to show your support. Let me know down below in the comments which game you would like me to cover on the channel tomorrow, as again, all 32 NHL teams are in action. And last but not least, if this was your first time checking out the channel and you want NHL content just like this all year round, hit that subscribe button, and I'll talk to you all again soon.